What does identity mean to me? Ownership over your choices, over who you want to be, regardless of the external, the environment that you live in. It's, eating something in the most weirdest way because you want to. Not because it's the right or wrong way. It's being individual despite the society telling you you are weird for eating with your hands or eating with chopsticks. It's choosing to what part of your history or your experiences that you want to take on and present yourself with. I choose to be British. I choose to be East Asian. Even though I look East Asian, I choose to be East Asian as well. So I was born. I began my life in London. I was born in London, 25th of April 1993. I was born in a hospital called Homerton Hospital in Hackney. And I lived in London until I was roughly about 7. And then I moved to Sheffield. Sheffield's one of those places that it's so creatively driven. There's so much opportunity in Sheffield for some reason. And especially in the school I went to, High Stores. I got into dance there. I learned how to top rock. I learned how to freeze. I didn't learn how to tondu over there, but I learned how to move my body in a creative way and express myself in a very different way. I'm a dancer now. I'm a professional dancer and aspiring actor. I don't call myself a professional actor because I don't feel like I'm there yet. And I'm a choreographer. That is me. My parents were both born in Vietnam. However, my mum is Chinese. She migrated to England, I think she was 14 at the time. I'm gonna skip ahead, but now she's a freaking wicked mum who I would say is the biggest inspiration in my life. That's, yeah, without it being too cliche, but she actually is. And my dad, he was in the Vietnamese army, so he had a different approach in terms of raising me. But he's like a very traditional man, a Vietnamese man, and he migrated over. I'm not entirely sure the age. And his aim when moving over was, rather than fleeing the country, it was more to make a life of it for himself. He was very much driven to make money, to return eventually back to Vietnam to be the hero that I think he wanted to be for my grandparents, which he did. He built a massive house for my grandparents, which was pretty amazing. There definitely was a lot of struggle, first off, fleeing from the country, especially for my mum, fleeing from Vietnam, being a part of the Vietnamese boat people. I don't want to say too much on what they felt and what happened, but from what I understand, there seems to be a lot of trauma behind a lot of people who were a part of that. So yeah, I don't pry too much, but I can talk on my experience seeing my mum as a young toddler growing up. Yeah, she struggled a lot, and I think as many migrant families do, they struggle with integrating themselves into society, Western society, because it's not something that they're so used to. I think a lot of my defenses come from them wanting to protect me so much, being afraid to let go of me, their son, because of what they've experienced in their life, for sure.
So what do they think of what's happening now within the UK, especially like that, coming up?
I think my mom has very much installed herself into society, but from a distance. So she is able to see the world through a specific lens where she doesn't necessarily involve herself in necessarily politics or anything. And so she's able to make comments on things that she doesn't really understand. So she's not really indulging herself in that. And I think that's due to constantly being pushed away from that, actually. Being pushed away from that society of... When she originally came, she thought it would be more accepting, you know. My dad's, he doesn't really talk about anything like politics or anything. So I honestly don't think he knows about the National Borders Bill. My mum definitely doesn't know, because I mentioned it, she doesn't know at all. And I think that's because, not that they're uneducated, it's just that they don't understand. They don't understand the system, I'd say. They don't understand the system that kind of works against them, you know. Honestly, I'm genuinely scared for my family members. I'm scared for them. I grew up with a lot of these people that they're threatening to, you know, ship away, if you like. It feels like there is an attempt to further segregate us, further make us feel like aliens, further make us feel like we're not welcome or that we don't belong here at all. You know, something that we've always already felt. It's just become a bit more apparent. Well, I never actually experienced racism until I moved to Sheffield. And that's nothing against Sheffield, it's just there's less ethnic minorities there. But I would say there is, growing up in Sheffield, I quickly learned that I'm different. I'm different based on how I look, how I am, and how I do things. But that difference at first starts off as like, I'm different, you know? It's something for me I could be like, as a kid I celebrated. But then over time you learn to realize that actually you're different and you're not normal. And that it starts to change your mentality, I think. For me, I built a lot of these defense mechanisms because of the amount of like comments that have made me different.
So tell me what it was like growing between two cultures, you know, like being
Oh, here we are. Okay, so growing up in an Southeast Asian household, but in a Western society, is so challenging. Simply because you learn a lot of traits from your parents that you just assume is normal, and you essentially perform them outside, and you're immediately told that's weird, or that's wrong, or that's foreign. In secondary school, I would say I embraced a lot of my Asian culture. I embraced a lot of it because it's who I am, you know? It's a beautiful thing. It's culture, it's color, it's so much more than what they tell me I am, you know? As much as I complain about the industry, it's great because I'm able to express myself. And so, you know, having worked with so many different choreographers who have been great or have been horrible, whatever, like a lot of the times, I don't always connect to those ideas because a lot of it is just way past me. I don't understand them. I can understand them to a certain extent. However, I cannot closely connect to it. And so when I make my work, I tell myself every time, is this something that I would like to watch? Is this something that I genuinely would be moved by? And every time I make work, it needs to answer that. It needs to answer it yes. It needs to. Otherwise, I'm not being true to myself. I feel like I've found my close friends, my best friends, my people who I could consider my family. And yes, we are all different colours, we are all different ethnicities. But actually, we do acknowledge those colours. We do acknowledge that my best friend's Nigerian. Because that's him, that's his identity. I think it's impossible to ignore those things. Yes, we are British. Yes, we are Nigerian. We of course, more than those ethnicities. But it also makes us who we are. And we cannot ignore it. And quite frankly, I choose not to ignore it. I choose to embody being that. Being British, Southeast Asian. Yeah. What does belonging mean to me? Finding a group of people who I would consider family. Inspiring the next group of people that look like me. Tell them that it's okay to say no. Say no to those people that you hold close to yourself, but you don't agree with. Striving for things that aren't ordinary, you know. I found those people, and I'm searching for more of those people. It doesn't stop. Belonging, always searching for my place of belonging will be an infinite thing. It will never stop. Because that's who I am. I choose to belong everywhere. Good. Wow, that was good.
That was good. Let's do that bit at the end.